Good morning, everybody. The audience is sparse, but that's what I expect on a Sunday morning, 11 o'clock, even though the topic is very interesting. But getting out of the bed to listen to people is a task in itself. But please be aware that today we have 4 powerful women here who would deliver their experience, which definitely is going to inspire a lot of women who are listening in from outside. One thing is we have this video recording. We'll promote this because what these women, 4 women are going to talk about is something which is very honest from their life experience, and I'm sure it is going to benefit the women moving forward. Now, today's topic is creating or starting an ecosystem for women entrepreneurs. From time immemorial, going back to 50,000 years ago, when women were gatherers and men were hunters, women have always been enterprising, right? So this is not a new topic I would introduce you to. Having said that, if you look at the startup ecosystem the last few years in India, India's GDP has been growing very gradually, but the startup has surged quite considerably and significantly. The number of investors that have come in the last 5 years has moved up 7 times. And the funds that have come in, flown in for investment, for startup investment, has gone 9 times. And that is really very heartwarming, not just to women entrepreneurs, to men entrepreneurs as well. If you compare the world, the developed economies like the Western world, including Japan and China, which are ahead in terms of per capita GDP in some cases, we have found that because of women diversity, the GDP has actually grown multifold, and GDP per capita has grown 10% plus year on year, only because more and more women have become entrepreneurs or joined the workforce. In India, unfortunately, in the pandemic last 3 years, women workforce has come down from 22% to 16% last 2 years, but then it's on the upsurge now. On that note, I will start today's session. The whole thing is about how we would like to go about is draw inspiration in terms of creating a woman character who would like to be a women entrepreneur. So to start with, let me lay the context in terms of getting the views from the 4 powerful women here, and then create this women character who would like to be an entrepreneur, and let's see how she can become a successful entrepreneur. So let me start with Deepa. I would like to have her insights and opening statements on this particular statement, whether the time has come then for an idea of creating a startup ecosystem for women entrepreneurs. Is our country, that is India, ready for such a one? Yes, Deepa.
Thank you, Srinivas Garu, and hello everyone, and hello to all my colleagues sitting here. Very happy to share the ideas with all of you. Thank you for having me over. Let's just quickly get started. How many of you are entrepreneurs here in the audience? Okay, and how many of you are solo women entrepreneurs? Great. So I'm going to kind of break this down a little bit while we all have to appreciate the efforts government, policymakers, ecosystems across India are making to enable more women entrepreneurship and empowerment. There is a bit of lag in few places. So if you see the statistics are boring, but probably I'll break it down to smaller ones. We have had a record of 100 unicorns churning out billions of dollars of funding in the last few years, and we are very proud of that. But if you break it down to women entrepreneurship, only 6% is a women-led founded startup that got funded in this whole pool. So again, if you break further down, in that again, the women entrepreneurs who are solo founders are 0.7%. So these statistics speak a lot about what's happening on the ground. So there's a lot of work to be done. there is a lot of challenge that is already being felt and seen. And a lot changes have to be made to bring on about an equal balance for women entrepreneurship and funding.
Thank you, Deepa. That's a wonderful insight. But having said that, let me add to what she said. We have had 150 unicorns last 3-4 years, but some of the marquee names, unicorns that immediately come to our mind, Nykaa, MobiQuick, Mama Earth, are women-led and solely women-led. So that's very inspiring to start with. Thank you, Deepa, for your insights. Praveena, could we have some from you?
So greetings to everyone, Srinivas Garimella and other panelists and the people who are present over here. And I would like to thank Srinivas Garimella first because this year's theme is breaking the bias, and so he himself is a moderator for us. That itself is an achievement for us, I can say. And coming to the readiness of the country, like yes, for sure, we are in the era of innovation and breaking barriers, bringing the change. So definitely, we are in a urge of accepting it. There has been many programs like the state government itself has a flagship program of Startup India, and I'm not sure how many of them are using it, but it's for mentorship accelerators, and a lot of marketing avenues have been created. And when it comes to MSME DI, it itself is providing many mentorship programs and registrations, and so to make to keep the startup stand still, and they've been trying right from the beginning. So a lot of incubation programs are going on, and pre-incubation is happening. And when it comes to women entrepreneurship platform, especially by Niti Aayog and Sedibus, so they've been giving a lot of mentorship to startups. So there is a space, and people have to grab it. And to add on to that, so when it comes to any startup, when it comes to food technology, they are not really aware, they need to reach out to CFTRI or IMR. You have NutriHub. So many things are available here, but the people should walk into, and startups has a lot of scope in India, I can say, because government schemes are there, government bodies are there, but only we need to explore and opportunities. And the trend has been, healthy trend has been going over a decade of time. So definitely we can foresee a lot more to achieve in startups.
Thank you, Praveena, for your insights. You're right. Government has taken notice of this, to create gender diversity. So they have come out with few schemes. Government of India has come out with a couple of them. Niti Aayog has come out with 1 or 2. And even banks, Sedibus has come out with 1 or 2. And at FTCCI, we are trying to represent to the RBI to create a separate fund for women entrepreneurship, so that we are actually forcing people to take up entrepreneurship. So on that note, I would pass on the mic to Sandhya Deepa for her insights.
Yeah, thanks, Srinivas. Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning to my fellow panelists as well. I would agree with my co-panelists. I think the thought of empowering a women entrepreneurship ecosystem is I think well underway in our country right now. We've had many visible examples of this in the past many years, but of course it is a long journey ahead. I think Deepa touched upon issues where, in terms of the total number of startups, how the number of women founder-led startups is still very, very low. But I think there is a lot of effort being made to make sure, that number goes up, because it is not just a question of, diversity or inclusion. It's also a question of greater opportunity, because what research also shows is that, companies with founders of a more broader and a diverse mix tend to show better valuation growth. They also show much better business performance. So this is well proven through research. While I think to support this, there are many initiatives already underway at government level, also at the ecosystem level, because what experience over the past few years has shown is that there are certain areas where there's greater push required. For example, for women to have a community of mentors, of champions, people who would, role models whom they can look up to, mentors and champions who will really support them a peer group system that will really aid them. I think, and also funding is another focused area where there are multiple initiatives underway across the ecosystem, because the greatest challenge for most women founders is the early stage and getting a funding at that stage, which proves to be really tough for a combination of reasons, which I think everyone is aware. I think there are multiple areas where a lot of effort is being made, and hopefully we're going to see more traction in the coming months and years.
Thank you, Sandhya. I must agree with her that gender diversity, and especially having women in our workforce, increases productivity, because women have the gifted ability of managing with meager resources. When they have a uncanny, probably nature has gifted them that with whatever little limited resources they have, they make the best use of it. Now I want Akitha to give her views on the topic.
So as Deepa ma'am said, coming to the statistics, India is the third largest ecosystem for startups, but the percentage of women is very less. Even though there is ecosystem which is supporting the women to come and become an entrepreneurs, but still women are struggling to come to that phase. Most of the women even are not even aware that there are certain kind of opportunities which are being given by the government. And I feel that this is just because of the lack of awareness. Maybe we have to be more communicative, we have to be on more platforms. Maybe you have to use certain non-platforms such as Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, where even local women start using it, having certain kinds of ads into the normal televisions, where we never publicize ourselves that we are there for women. We are there, but they are not aware about what kind of opportunities they have, how could they leverage and become successful. And even though we have placed this kind of a beautiful platform to them, but they still struggle to come from their homes. So there should be a change from the grassroots level, from the family level, where we have to educate even the husbands, the fathers, the mothers at home, that what kind of significant value they are going to add to the society, and they would be proud one day looking their doctor, helping many people out there.
I definitely agree with Akitha. She's the youngest in this group and is startup entrepreneur herself. She was talking about evangelizing women entrepreneurship and to bring in cultural change amongst the family circles, that women have to be encouraged for being an entrepreneur. And she must be speaking from her heart, because probably she must have endured this kind of a journey with her own family. Thank you, Akitha. So let's start the program now. I'll make up a woman entrepreneur. I don't have to make up, because probably she'll exist somewhere here in this exhibition grounds in hall number 1. And I would like to call her Sri Shakti or Shakti Sri, because women are powerful. So let's create a particular woman called Sri Shakti. And if she is one amongst the crowd in hall number 1, and if she's listening, she'll probably benefit from what the discussion we're going to have moving forward. So my first question to Deepa. You have been an entrepreneur yourself. You have served the corporate world, and now as a CEO of Sedibus, are creating a platform for startups. Please tell me, if this Shakti Sri, who's amongst us, who wishes to be an entrepreneur in today's India, what opportunities lie in front of her, and how should she go about seizing those opportunities?
Thank you, Srinivas. So I had the opportunity to be an entrepreneur in the past life. I have done a sole proprietorship model. That gave me a lot of exposure to build things on my own. And obviously, I completely understand when, women put themselves out there, what are the challenges that they face, And it was not a very easy journey. One, because you really have to put yourself out there. You are your own brand person. You have to tell your story over and over, and your story should connect with the people you're selling your product or service to. This was a very varied experience from my corporate background because here you have to, you have to build everything from the scratch. Like you are your own legal person, you are your own secretarial person, you are the one who also has to have a grip on finances. You also have to understand, if you're driving a technology business, then what regulations apply. If you're into consumer, you need to do your market analysis. So everything, is onto you. We had an interesting program that we have done with women entrepreneurship platform Niti Aayog in 2019, where we mentored 10 women-led startups from all over India with our mentors who are in-house. And a lot of realizations happened in that course. Like most of the women founders don't have enough moral or financial support coming from their houses. Most of the time, family will not even understand what they're doing. It's very obvious. And another problem that we have cited when we were interacting with them, I would not call it a problem, let's call it challenge, is about awareness about how the numbers play in the market. Like most of the women founders had trouble valuing their own startups. Okay. Coming to funding part, a lot of times they were not able to bootstrap the startup themselves, and which is quite common because in a house, typically a woman plays a very diverse role. She has to take care of the house, then she has to take care of whatever she's trying to do professionally. Driving a startup, not everybody comes from money. Some people have to secure money. So that's a challenge area where we have seen a lot of startups led by women struggling for funding. So that's where our family office took this initiative to connect them to the fund houses, angel networks, and other stakeholders in the ecosystem. It's very important that you connect with right networks when you're doing this. Like Sandhya and Praveena have rightly said, Startup India has set aside 10,000 crore for women-led startups, right? We also have Niti Aayog working very hard on this, and they're very open and approachable. You can just contact anybody in WEP and they will guide you to the next steps. So there are a lot of such things that are happening, a lot of initiatives. For example, even the fund houses now are coming out with women-led initiatives. Like, for example, Sequoia has launched Sparks. So, this was launched in the pandemic time, mostly for women founders who were struggling with cash. And early stage startups were picked up and, funded. So you need to understand, where to tap in your resources and network. And trust me, nobody will be on your side. You have to do this all by your own. I have also observed some women founders depending on their co-founders for technology piece. I think that should be gone now. I mean, every woman founder who is also a co-founder in a setup should have an equal nuance and understanding of how the technology works. So these are few things. I would say that it's not going to be a very easy journey, but it should be a very tactical one where you have to know how to put yourself and your brand out there.
Thank you, Deepa. So, she was talking about challenges while seizing opportunities. Yes, there will be challenges. And the challenges remain same for men and women in terms of business ideation and scaling up. But what Deepa was talking about is how she is going to manage those opportunities going forward in terms of, funding, managing at home, managing other things. And also the support system that Sedibus and others can provide for the women entrepreneur once he seizes the opportunities. So now with our women entrepreneur, Shakti Sri, having seized the opportunity that we have talked about through Deepa, let's quickly go on to Akitha, because once the women entrepreneur has an idea, she wants to seize an opportunity, the next thing that will hit her is what are the steps that she has to take in terms of putting that ideation into action. How do you get the business plan rolling? How do you get the finances? How do you get yourself mentored? How to make the elevator or a sales pitch to the finances? And Akitha, having started a company a few years back, I think she would know how to go about doing these steps. So I would like her insights on how would this woman, Shakti Sri, should go about advocating this.
Thank you, sir. So I would like to share my journey.
Keep it closer.
So that would, I feel maybe that would be helpful to other women over here. So we usually build certain kind of products and then go to the customers, and then there is a 50-50 percentage of chances whether it would be successful or it would be a failure. Every person would not be very lucky to have success on the first go. So we had a different kind of approach, a bottom-up approach, where we had an idea initially, and then we have gone to our customers. So ours is a medical product. We deal with maternal and child care, and our vision is to create products where you make zero separation between child and mother. So in order to understand the needs, we have gone for 6 months of clinical immersions in hospitals. So we have shadowed doctors, the nurses, and the parents and the babies also who are coming to the hospitals. And we have made a note of the problem statements, where it is going wrong, what is the pain point of a doctor, what's the pain point of a nurse, what's the pain point of a mother. So in this process, we could understand the healthcare ecosystem of India, both in private hospitals as well as in government hospitals. So it's completely a different management system in private, and it's completely different in government. If we hadn't gone through this kind of immersion journey, we could have made certain product and approached a doctor, and he could have just said, okay, I don't need this. So this kind of approach of talking to customers, understanding them, having a user validation, helped us to build technology on the basis of user validation. So instead of building technologies and then going searching for what kind of applications this would have, you go and find the problem first, and then do a reverse analysis of what kind of technology is required for certain kind of problems. So this kind of journey minimizes all the kind of hurdles, and this will also support us to build a strong business model as well, because you're building your solutions from your point of the customer's view. And this is not only applicable for the healthcare system, but it can be applicable to any kind of domain. It can be applicable for the FMCG or for the agri, for the fintech, any kind of technology. Having a customer perspective is the most important thing. And coming to the pitching, sir, there are different kinds of formats where you get 15 minutes at one point of time, and sometimes you get only 30 seconds to pitch. And we should actually customize our pitch according to the thing. Now I'm here, maybe you could be my investors. So I am trying to pitch myself here. So every opportunity, every moment, we should never try to lose it. So we should always be ready with different kinds of pitch at different kinds of time intervals. A 30 minutes, a 5 minutes, and a 15 minutes should always be ready. And being a first-time entrepreneur, I never knew what could be the unit economics. I never understood what's a B2B, whether I should be a B2C or a B2B. But this kind of understanding would come through the journey. We should always be a constant learners. Nothing would come through the curriculum of colleges, but being a constant learner will always help us. And coming to business, your idea should be strong. You should know your customers, what kind of value proposition you are giving to them, and your business model should be right. So these 4 parameters is what an investors look, and nobody can stop us from getting our funding.
Thank you, Akitha. Her main focus was defining the problem statement, and that's true. Whether it is a man or a woman entrepreneur, problem statement definition is a key towards scaling up your business and making it successful. She was also talking about mentoring, the constant mentoring support. And the third thing she was talking about, elevator pitch. I agree with her because I'm a startup investor, invested in many startups. And believe me, every week I get at least 10 billion business ideas. 10 billion business ideas. And if I have to find time to listen to 10 billion ideas every week, and mostly I have to do in the weekends because I'm busy with my own enterprise itself, it's difficult for me to separate the wheat from the chaff. So the pitch has to be really, really to the point. Cut out all the fluff. She's right. Now, when I said the number of investors have moved 9 times up and investment funds have moved 7 times up, there's a lot. Remember, when the investments are high, the people also are more pitching in. So when you may have to make the pitch, you be precise and clear-cut in terms of what area you're addressing and what are your customer segments. Thank you, Akitha, for your insights. Now, our women entrepreneur, Shakti Sri, has seized the opportunities. She also knows how to make a business plan and making the elevator pitch. I'll quickly go on to Praveena, and let's see how she's going to help our women entrepreneur, Shakti Sri, to scale up a business. So what I would like to hear from Praveena is, Praveena is a very active member in many industry forums and bodies. She's a very multifaceted entrepreneur, has a varied experience in many businesses, and I would like to hear her advice on what are the roadblocks and barriers moving forward during the business, and how she can possibly encounter, and how our women entrepreneur Shakti Sri should overcome them. Over to you, brother.
Thank you so much, Srinivas Garu. So I would be touching upon only micro and small businesses, because majority of them lie there. And because me being a founder of Women Nvision, I deal with 3,000 women, but they not be at the medium level as well. So, and before even I talk about roadblocks, let me talk about success stories, family support. So when you come to pinnacle generators or biotech, we are talking about the vaccination. So in both the cases, wife and husband go hand in hand and they have created success story. But is it with the same with everyone? No, not at all. So with that, I would say family support and the friend support is very important. And when you don't have as well, definitely need not be your husband only has to support, or your father, or the male person only has to support. Don't think in that way. So women for women, right? So when you get the support system, you can do miracles, I can say. Because as a alone, don't think you have to drive it all alone. So that's where the community support system, wherever it is, seek help, get mentored. So you be on demand for your support, in fact. And when it comes to the second roadblock, anyone can say is all the medium level or micro and small entrepreneurs, the fear of compliance. The first thing they fail is registrations. So they don't have a Udyam registration. So they unnecessarily, if you have Udyam registration, but they unnecessarily get into GST, which is not required at all. That's where, again, they fail to file them, and, that's where, again, it goes into the sick industry. So they just leave it. So the women, the compliance, the fear of compliance, they need to get out of it, because when it comes to FTCCI or the MSMEDA, recently we have done Udyam registration. So many drives are going on, but we need to be little keen on that, to understand what exactly those registrations, the impact, and the, what are the benefits. So we should try to understand that is where it is lacking. So if you concentrate and go on, keep on, exploring about it, definitely there will be a mileage. When it comes to the funds and funds, obviously everybody talks about is finances or the big hurdle, neither family, because people lie in a myth saying that we get a loan and we can start our business. No, you need to have initial amount with you. You have to gather it. So don't ever think majority of women I come across, because I'm with more than 3,000 women with me in Women Nvision. They always think we just going to kickstart it and I'm going to get a loan and I'm going to further. No, you need to have a proper planning of procuring your initial amount, initial investment is required, working capital is required. Maybe few organization might begin, you cannot rely on them. For that, now because MSME has trading as well. It was manufacturing services was there, now even trading is there. So even with the trading, you accumulate money, and even for the sourcing, and you have proper plan, then you step into. Then it will be a success story. Otherwise, it will get exhausted in the middle itself. And when it comes to the other roadblock, I can say is networking. Majority of us fail is networking, because we think getting into the people and going around mere waste of time, or we may not fit in there, some kind of hurdle. So until we network is net worth, we should understand that, because we need to know our vendors, we need to know our customers, we need to understand from each other what is the requirement, what is it people are looking at. As a women entrepreneur, don't shy away from anything. You just step in, you just go around, you just talk to the people, understand the things, then you will be creating a success story. And when it comes to other roadblock, majority of us feel is we don't have a proper roadmap at all. So we wouldn't even calculate, like, for this, next, for 6 months, what is that budget we need to allocate? What kind of strategic planning we need to have? What kind of mentorship we really need it? So we always lack in that. We never plan that in depth, and we just jump into. That is one more thing I've seen with the women. When they come back, they'll be in the middle of shattering. So it shouldn't be the case. And especially another roadblock would be the partnerships. When they are with the partnering with the men, they think like, they just take some marketing area and they just leave away finances and, other rest of the sourcing. So many things, they just leave it and they just won't even try to understand what exactly is happening. One fine day, even when they realize, they don't even know where the source is coming from, where is happening, what is happening. They'll be like, they don't understand things, they just depend on them. So they are putting them, because technology front, they won't be aware. Technology, they think they'll be fine. I'm not saying everybody, but majority of them. So technology, their upskilling won't happen. Technology, the only particular area they are proficient, they'll just choose it and they just live with it. That is one more thing, is creating a hell lot of problems, and the agreements as well. When it comes to, having an agreement kind of a thing, or the, any kind of, so they'll be not keen on, like, if it's a partnership deed, they need to be very clear what is the roles and responsibilities. So, because they fail, and, they'll be out of the partnership firms. So majority of times I've seen this. So women, if they are little keen on upskilling themselves, learning many technology aspects, and don't ever shy away from networking. So if you just go on doing that, definitely they can create success story. And women for women, never think women as a competition, and always support women. And let's create a platform of support. When you think of one example I would really want to take is, networking need not happen only with the men and women. So only women also are networking a lot. Right? Now, Women's Day is a big time, I can say. I was there for 10 awards, and I could meet hundreds of women. So that itself is a big network for the year it goes on. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Praveena, for all the hurdles that a woman entrepreneur can face, reeling out one after another and then saying how she can overcome them. First big thing that she talked about is compliances. Yes, that's the biggest problem not just the women entrepreneurs face, the men entrepreneurs also face. So this is being taken up seriously by the government of India, and PwC has been earmarked to reduce the number of compliances, recommend to government to reduce the number of compliances from 65,346 to reduce it to less than 1,000. Currently we are talking about 65,346 compliances a business person has to comply to, of which 26,200 odd talk about imprisonment. That means if you don't do this, you'll go to jail, or if you do this, you'll go to jail. So this is where we are stepping in a big way. We have given a recommendation just 5 days back to PwC in a long a meeting of 4 hours. So we are hoping that there'll be some movement in that sphere next 6 months, and we will have a reduction in compliances both at the state government level and central government level. Apart from that, the regular ones that we talked about, not having support in terms of networking, not having a business plan in place, not creating a marketplace, not understanding the business thoroughly, largely limiting the finances to your men partner, all those things that Praveena talked about, yes, they're true. Unless we start overcoming them one after another, unless we start believing in ourselves, the women especially, we'll not be able to surge forward. Now let's move on to next. We have had this, our women entrepreneur, Shakti Sri, seizing an opportunity, convincing the family, creating a business plan, and also, like Praveena said, networking and gaining from the support system. Now we'll move on to Sandhya. She's got a rich experience in academia, in the consulting world, manufacturing world, and I want to listen to her talk about how would this women entrepreneur Shakti Sri be able to scale up her business and become a giant and not remain a dwarf. Using her skills at being a business planner and strategist, we would like to hear from you, Sandhya.
Yeah, thanks, Srinivas. I think my fellow panelists have listed a very, I think, pertinent roadmap on the journey that any founder needs to take, and specifically what are some of the challenges that a woman founder needs to really focus on. As I mentioned earlier, I think some of the basics stay the same. I think a majority of the failure of a lot of startups is really comes at the stage when they can overcome the early stage part and moving to scaling. That's where that leap is the biggest challenge for all startups, be it male-led or women-led. And I think some of the key elements to look out for, I'll talk about some which are really agnostic first for both men and women founders. I think it's really about, I think Akitha mentioned it very well, it's really about, I think, looking at your consumers very closely. I think looking at, the data very, very closely, understanding, what the problem is, what is the fit that your product or your solution brings to that particular problem. I think it's also about having the right team, which is really crucial for all, to really make that leap from an early stage to scale to a sizable, stature. I think all of these absolutely are crucial. I think the other important part is really about, I think, finding the right funding network which is really willing to encourage you and support you. I think that's where it is a lot more crucial for women-led startups to make sure you are able to get on that journey with a funding network, with the angel network, or a fund which is really aligned with your philosophy, with your journey, and is willing to walk that journey with you. I think that's really the most crucial part, because I think once you get that, then you are really on to that journey, and you are really able to. And if you look at a lot of examples of successful journeys, that's really a crucial part. I think the next level is really about what women founders can do to kind of really leapfrog that initial phase is, I think, a well-established peer network system. I think, Praveena also touched upon it. It is really, you don't have to make all of those mistakes again yourself. I think there's a large pool of founders, mentors, really a peer network who is more than willing to work with you, to support you, and to guide you. I think it is about reaching out and tapping into that set so that you don't have to really make those mistakes all over again. You can learn from their journey, from their challenges, and understand how to work better at them. I think that's really very, very crucial, and I think more so for women founders. I think the other part is also to actively seek out, look for opportunities, look at the right role models, because what you see is what you become. I think to really look at and reach out to role models, success stories is also very crucial. And I think also to build a community for yourself. It's your community of supporters, of mentors, of all other people who are really willing to support. I think that's again absolutely crucial to really ensure that you are successful, you get to the next level of that journey. I think a combination of these is really, I think, what comes to my mind, Srinivas. I don't think it's anything very specific, but I think it's about tapping into the right set of network, of this entire support system, of funding, for mentorship, because I think these are some crucial areas, again, because once you get these right, I think next things like access to markets, and I think really expanding that initial set of customers. I mean, what we've seen with the groups that we work with is all of that really becomes much more smoother once you get the initial stuff right.
Thank you, Sandhya. She very well expressed it. She said the intent should be there for you to really make it big and not remain a dwarf. She talked about sustainability. She talked about getting the wheels in motion. She talked importantly about critical mass. And critical mass can come in by having first the intent, and second thing, don't hesitate to tap into your network to ensure that you don't repeat the same mistake. Right? The same mistake, if you don't want to repeat, you have to learn. And learning, the best thing is to reach out to fellow entrepreneurs and find out how not to make the same mistake again. And that's the key thing. You can make new mistakes, that's how you learn, right? But don't repeat the same mistakes. So that's a very good thing you've spoken, Sandhya. Now we'll quickly go on to the second round, and after that we'll wrap it up quickly. Now we're talking about a woman entrepreneur. Our Shakti Sri has seized the opportunity, got an idea, she's tapping into a network system, she's also touched critical mass, she's on a growth phase. Now the important thing is, how long can you grow? Can you become a Naika? Can you become a Ambani? Can you become a Adani? Or can you become a Kiran Mazumdar Shah? What can you become? How long can you sustain that? So sustainability becomes the key. So I will quickly reach out to Deepa. Deepa, if businesses are to be sustained and entrepreneurs need to constantly innovate and improvise, in your opinion, how can they do that? And do organizations like Sedibus or some such organizations support them throughout their entrepreneurial journey? In other words, does an ecosystem exist for business sustainability for a woman entrepreneur?
Right. Thank you, Srinivas. This is going to be a two-pronged approach, actually. One side, like I was previously sharing about how women founders should always innovate. They have to take stock of the tech piece, which we found lacking when we did these programs. Either they were hesitant to learn something new in their later stages of life. So there are two kinds of mindsets, right? Fixed mindset and growth mindset. So it's very important to have a growth mindset. That's what made Miss Falguni Nair what she is today. She started off in her late 40s and she built an IPO material, right? So that was not an easy journey for her either, from investment banking to e-commerce, right? So awareness to tech is something which is becoming a seemingly critical factor as the days are passing, because everything will be tech driven. You know, every e-commerce enterprise needs to have the tech stack in place. We have had the opportunity to work with startups like Lalten. Lalten is supporting artisans across the country. They have built an amazing tech stack which brings all the artisans onto the portal, sell their products digitally, and you know, there is no middleman thing here, and everybody wins. Also, I have seen some innovative ideas from women founder like Iram. She runs a startup called E-Waste Social in Gurgaon. So this is about disposing of the electronic waste. So Iram plays a very important role. She and her co-founder, they are taking care of the tech piece. You know, tech stack is very important. Learning technology is for everyone, right? So you need to have the basic touch with tech. It's very important. This is where I think there is a lot of FOMO that also exists in the market, fear of missing out. But definitely you will miss out a lot deal when you're not equipped with tech. So I'm getting an opportunity to work with a lot of product startups right now. I'm also learning in my 40s, right? So young teams, you know, I have started learning Python, for example. My son is teaching me, you know, he says, okay, I'll help you out with this. So that is very important. Sustaining a business, it's all about giving something new to the customer, right? So if you take any classic garden variety of a successful startup, they have always been very innovative with their approach, with whatever they have been offering to their customers. So for this, you know, you don't have to really compare your startup with the bigger ones, but at least even if you're diversifying your product range or service range to, you know, what, you know, can exceed the expectations of the customer, if the customer wins, your business will win. You know, that's the basis sentimentality here. There are a lot of ecosystems which are working, like T-Hub has done a lot of stuff in this. I remember, you know, there were a lot of forums that were organized in T-Hub where a lot of tech mentors have come and spoken and have offered help. NASSCOM has come to you. I remember NASSCOM 10,000 initiative, you know, that was aimed at, you know, helping out the startups to, you know, sustain. Picking the right mentors is very important. You have to pick strategic mentors. Like, for example, if you're in the e-commerce space, probably you will need a mentor from that space because, you know, there is a lot of synergy there. Sometimes it so happens that if your mentor is an investor, he or she will come back to you as a returning investor as well. So there are certain ecosystems like we have, you know, Haryana Accelerator, which is doing a commendable job. Bangalore, you know, IIM Cell. is doing a very good job. Sedibus per se, we are concentrating more on investment side, but we are always welcoming startups who want to come to us for help. What we are doing is we are connecting you with the relevant stakeholders. For example, if you're coming from a, say, fintech background, then probably, if we think that we can invest into it, we would do that. Or we would connect you with the mentors and the investors in that space. So that kind of hand-holding we are definitely doing. This is going to be a very ongoing process. There is nothing called as, your business model will always be evolving, whatever you take up, right? So in the changing times, sustaining that, innovating more, and also connecting with the right networks is very important. This also has another approach. A lot of startups now are opening up to hire women in key leadership roles, like women who are heading product, growth, tech stack. So I think a lot of that is changing now as compared to what was even 5 years ago. I think enterprises also should encourage more women. You also have to encourage a lot of women leaders in the tech space to join your shop, if that is possible. That kind of sets the tone, So these are few things. We also have a lot of voice being generated by Government of India and also Niti Aayog in this matter. They are really striving to give you a platform. For example, if you go to WEP website, you can sign up as a member, free of cost, and you can ask questions, any questions that you have, legal, secretarial, finance, tech. Somebody from Niti Aayog will reply to you, or their partners will reply to you. So you have to make use of such platforms to also connect with other people who are in the same sector and what they are doing and how different are you from them and things like that. So these are the few things. I think there's a lot of action that will happen soon. I think I was just talking to Sandhya. I was asking her what's happening, and she said that you're soon working on expediting the T fund that was launched. So probably you can get in touch with T Hub, or you can get in touch with us, and we will connect you with the stakeholders that you need. Yeah.
Brilliantly put, Deepa. To have sustainability, she's talked about having the growth mindset. And second thing is harnessing, leveraging technology and reinventing and remodeling your business in the long run. Brilliantly put. Thank you. So now we are talking about on the sustainable journey for our women entrepreneurs, Shakti Sri. So I'll quickly go on to Praveena. Praveena, you have been at the forefront of bringing in a lot of women entrepreneurs together. There are probably thousands of them. So they stand by each other as a support system. In your view, if businesses are to be sustained in the long run by women, what kind of support system is ideal to have? And how do we in India create such a system and make women entrepreneurs be aware of the same? Because a lot of them are not aware of this support system.
Definitely, I'm with women, and I've been, so the support system, what I've created with women, Nvision itself is like, a platform, a digital platform where all women are connected on a place-wise. So the system I've created is sustainable, definitely, because we are in the same space, even in the COVID times. So they won't believe some other person, buying from some other person, but women from women, we were customers for ourselves. So even when in the family, when husbands lost job, our women could survive. It's a free business platform. That itself is a model, I can say. So with that, when it comes to, it's a simple, my vision was simple, homemakers to homepreneurs and the entrepreneurs. When it comes to Government of India or the FTCCI or CIMSME or any other bigger organizations, so they need to create such a support system for women, definitely, that is going to be definitely sustainable, because, once they get connected to each other, when they develop that vendor management, they get vendors from there and the customers from there itself. So definitely that will build a big bond among them. So there, that itself creates we should stand by each other. The support system definitely gets created. And one thing I would like to stress upon is rural world. So though urban level we are doing, but when the rural world comes in, so maybe the question relevant or not, but women they can't even, they can manufacture, but they cannot come and sell like us how we are doing in Expo. Husbands won't allow them. I would suggest like, organization, it can be government or anybody, collect those items from them and exhibit here. Some kind of a platform need to be created for them. Their husbands won't even allow to step out of their house. But can we leave them just like that because we cannot tolerate with their husband? Why should we take a risk from them? No. Somewhere we need to start getting into rural world and understand like their problem anyway lies in. So see, either one way is like the counseling can go on, trainings can go on, husband like the family can be explained about the benefits, that can anyway go on, but the marketing avenue need to be created by the support system need to be created. So though we talk about Dwakra Mahila and everything, like again it is restricted to some extent only. When you really deep dive into the rural world, it's not happening. They simply say that we are not allowed to do so. So that is one area we really need to think. And another thing I would like to talk about is recently for Women's Day, I was associated with MSME DI, and I'm into definitely a good networking person, but still I could not drive more than 50 members to the office. I was just thinking, in spite of 500 registration, why people are not, we are unable to driving it. We really need to give a thought where the change need to come, where we need to change, either the people mindset or what exactly need to be done. So one more thing, what I have really realized is, see, when we are promoting, where are we, which group of people we are catering to? So the people who can see, you are in social media, the people who are in YouTube and other stuff. When it comes to rural world, the channel, do we have any channel for MSME? I really doubt it. One notified channel where, we are doing this program, why can't it be telecasted over there so that, probably TV is more, available to everyone. And when you look at any channel, nothing scrolls down like, about MSME. Because we have the person like, Srinivas Garu itself, like, he wants to work at the grassroots level. But majority of them may not be knowing that, you really want to work for. I'm talking about MSME DI Additional Commissioner. He was asking like, we really need to help. But is his voice reaching everywhere? No. So the medium is really lacking. That's what I feel. The support system over there is really required. The way we have TSAT. Similarly, why not for MSME itself? I don't think any organization has it, but I really request for that because, and leadership skills. So when it comes to women entrepreneurs, what they really lack is like, pitching in and taking that leadership role and the communication part. And so these all skills can be, trainings can be conducted at the rural level, at the, maybe in the urban level as well. So that is, I feel, that is lacking somewhere. The support system has to be built in that way. And when it comes to, especially, compliance as well, the benefits, people are not really aware. And when it comes to the other CA world, they just say that, GST, you need to file it. So they, without even knowing anything, just jump into. So maybe, more awareness need to be created even on that front. So I wish, all these things will be taken over by either government or the bodies. Thank you.
Very wonderfully put, Praveena. You spoke from your heart. Yes, but you first touched upon that women have to find support amongst themselves to create marketplaces. Yes, definitely that's a big group that they can actually tap into. Second thing you talked about is evangelizing. We need to evangelize quite a lot, so the women folk, whether it is rural or the urban women folk, have to come about bringing the change. This evangelizing, we are doing it. I think even the government of Telangana is proactive in that. There's something called One District, One Product, all of you would have heard of. In the ODOP program, in fact, we are recommending that all the ODOP committees should have at least 3 women entrepreneurs. This we are trying to push, and probably I will recommend your name so that you actively participate in that. And the third thing is, yes, what kind of a ecosystem can we create? Bodies like FTCCI, FICCI, or CII or T-Hub or Sedibus, we need to really go about coming together, leverage each other's strengths, form a core committee to encourage women entrepreneurship. In fact, this probably could be the starting point for such the creation of such bodies, and we should take it forward. Having said that, let's not be disheartened, because there'll be a tipping point pretty soon. The next decade will be a women entrepreneurs decade. So I'm pretty certain that 2025 could be a tipping point of more women joining in. On that positive note, I will move on to Sandhya. Sandhya has been keenly involved in people development. Now, our own women entrepreneur, Shakti Sri, is now sustaining a business. But one advantage with women entrepreneurs is they recruit more women. They understand women better. So women entrepreneurship brings in more women employment generation, which is good for the country. So my question to you, Sandhya, is, having been involved in people development, in your view, should the women entrepreneurs encourage more women to join their enterprise? Should we have a better ratio of women to men in their enterprise? Can women fulfill the responsibility of all the functions in an enterprise? Are some functions naturally better handled by women? And how do they bring in the work-life balance?
I think that's a lot of questions. I would probably substitute, on a lighter note, I would substitute the woman with the man in that question and wonder if you would ask all of that. I don't think so. So I think therein lies the essence of the root of a mindset, I think which really is the biggest impediment or challenge, I would say, for anybody, because you're already loaded with so many questions. Can you this? Can you that? I mean, would you encourage more women to enter the workforce? Of course, yes. You would encourage men and women. And I think all of that is a notion which is, I think, long been, put to dust, I would say. I think that's a notion which I think, time has shown that it's probably no longer relevant anymore. I mean, if you actually even take a step back, look at history, look at, civilization, look at, there are role models everywhere which show that there is no job or a role which a woman has not taken up at all. So I think in some sense these are all, my humble submission is they're totally irrelevant. And I think also, in some sense, these are the root of what a lot of, biases that come in, which are conscious, which are unconscious, but which really are a lot of, systemic ones that I think, there are many kind of role models over the course of time who really showed up how some of those have to be surmounted. These do still exist, I think, which is evidence to the question that you raised. So I mean, coming back to that, I think, of course, like I said, it makes beyond, the notion of inclusion, it really is a question of, I think, a lot of equal opportunity, which leads to a lot of research which has already shown, better business performance, it's better valuation if you're looking at startups. So there is, of course, a sound business case to really have a more diverse and a more well-represented, workforce. So that was the first part of the question. What was the next? There was something before that also?
Before that, no, are some functions naturally better handled by women? Naturally.
I think that's also, like I mentioned, there are role models which show across, over a period of time, across a diverse set of businesses which say that I don't think there is any such natural inclination. One thing I would point out is women, I think, are more naturally inclined to be leaders. I think that's really overlooked a lot of times, but I think a lot of natural talent, if I would have a bias, is towards that. But otherwise, I think, I don't think it's a question of, I think, an individual inclination, ability and opportunity. And also, I think, a certain set of priorities over different points of time, over a life journey, which I think drive both men and women to kind of particular choices. I think the focus now is more towards, I think, putting in greater effort to provide greater opportunity. Because, in my past life at a large consulting organization, we had what was a concept of a leaking pipeline. Because if you see at the entry time, they are well represented. As you move through the journey of growth in an organization, you slowly see that they're dropping off for a variety of reasons. And then when it comes to the top levels of management, it's a mere trickle. So I think the focus has been to understand what are those different enabling factors and environments which will help kind of make it more equal, more equitable at different stages of the journey of growth. I think that's where the focus has been over the past many years. And I think now it's a very natural thing that, for example, you are appealing to a diverse set of consumers, which are, both men and women. For that, you need a diverse, group of, members who are looking at issues, at challenges, so that your solutions are not unidimensional, but are looking at, multiple, the diverse set that your consumers eventually are representing. So I think all of that is driving a whole lot of, changes, a whole lot of enabling initiatives where, customers demand that now. So you need to have a more well-represented team which is out serving your customers. So it then, kind of works its way towards the entire, I think, ecosystem. I think those are some things. I think from a balance standpoint, again, as I mentioned, I think it is about the phase where you are in your particular journey, which drives, I think, for both men and women. I think everybody seeks balance, and I think based on the individual set of priorities at different points along the journey, I think that's probably an individual choice and a function of your own choice versus the priorities at any point of time.
She put it fantastically, Sandhya. She said all the questions that I've asked is a myth, so just put them in a dustbin. I agree, very much agree. Having said that, this is absolutely a myth because there's no function that a woman can't handle. So this is all in the mind. So we need to break that mindset that women are designed for these functions and men are designed for these functions. So wonderfully put, Sandhya. I must agree with you in totality. And in terms of work-life balance, again, she came out with that answer that if you want to be an entrepreneur yourself, what work-life balance? The men also face the same problems, right? So if you really want to succeed in life, you will create that balance automatically, whether you're a man or a woman. Very well said, Sandhya. Now, I'll quickly go on to Akitha. She is a young first-generation entrepreneur, and now our own women entrepreneur is sustaining her business. She has broken all the myth, all the barriers. She's on a fast track. But now we're going to talk about the most relevant topic in nowadays technological world. So as a young first-generation entrepreneur and a CTO yourself, in your view, what is needed to enable women entrepreneurs to benefit from the opportunities offered by digitalization and globalization?
So with pandemic, sir, we all know that what changes have come across, and we all have sustained this, and that would not be possible with digitalization. So we have adapted to the digitalizations. Everybody started going back to schools online. Earlier, I have seen, one of my family members, she's a teacher. She just know how to teach on a board, on a chalk. She has never used Word, Excel, not even she has done a video call. But it hardly took a week for her to learn all of that. So it's not the problem that women don't understand technology. It's not the problem that they are not taught well. So it's only about the time has to come. For them, they just need to see or grab the opportunity. They are very quick learners, and she has done a remarkable progress. So, the way she has put up herself, and she was teaching her kids. She considered her students as her kids. So she could communicate the effective teaching even through online. So digitization has brought a remarkable changes in everybody's life. So now people are also selling their goods even in Instagram. They're making a WhatsApp groups, and they're just putting up their the saris, the jewelries, and people are just buying online and they're paying through WhatsApp as well. So they are happy customers. I have seen many reviews as well. So adapting to digitization will not create any bad things, but it will also create a lot of opportunities for women. So the one thing what I've seen is there is also a concept called as cloud kitchen. So sitting at home, you can sell your products. So these kind of concepts are just to be introduced to them. So what I feel is like we have to create certain kind of skill activities or programs where you have to just educate the women and they are just ready to grab the opportunities and to grow. And coming to globalization, so we have many opportunities from our government itself where they are collaborating with the other countries in aspects of funding, in aspects of scalability. There are activities like startup visas where they are providing you the complete vision of what your market is going to be, whether your business will have a right market fit or not. They're also helping and guiding you to understand the customers in a global platform. And there are also certain different funding platforms like Bill and Melinda Gates Foundations, GCC Grand Challenge Canada, and Indo-US and Indo-UK grants. So where you have an opportunity to find a right partner in the global market, and you can collaborate and do this business over there. So such opportunities are there, and I feel women should be more seeking out. We are not seeking. I feel that we are not reaching out more often. We have to not to be confined to ourselves. We have to just go and grab these opportunities. The opportunities are there. And when it comes to sustainability, we should have our own product and attraction in our home country. That's when we will also seek more opportunities and trust. We will build a kind of trust into when we are entering into the global markets.
Thank you, Akitha. She's talking about this pandemic has thrown open this digitalization and globalization, made it much more flat. The world has become much more flat now. And Akitha is talking about exploiting that flatness to our advantage. And probably the entire message for this program is creating an ecosystem, right? And this is the best way to create digitalization, is helping us to do that. Now, quickly, last summarization. I'll quickly go on to each panelist. Now, the thought behind this question is, I had connected with these 4 lovely women a couple of days back just to brief them on this program, and Deepa raised the pertinent points. He said, look, is it worth having this discussion? Because we seem to be discussing and nothing is happening. So I made a promise to her saying that, no, let's use this platform to create the ecosystem. That is point number 1. And point number 2, I said, let's not be disheartened, because if there is one woman here who can become a Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw or somebody else, we have done a job. I don't have to change 1,000 people. We change 1%, I'll be very happy with that. On that note, Deepa, I would like your concluding remarks on what should the government and industry bodies like FTCCI, which I represent, and other forums do to encourage women entrepreneurship and continue or sustain to support that startup ecosystem.
Thank you, Srinivas. I think I brought this on myself. We had a prep call yesterday, and I asked only one question to Srinivas. Can I be blunt and honest in this session, or should I be nice and professional, diplomatic, all great words? He said, are you going to throw in some statistics? I did. Okay. So, my school of thought comes from Mr. Harish Chandra Prasad. He's my mentor. He's the founder of Malakshmi Group. And as family office, we have always been approached by several ecosystems. We have had the opportunity to work with them. We have also discussed a lot of things with governments. I mean, that kind of opened up a lot of discussion and dialogue. But there is one common unfortunate pattern in all these discussions. These discussions happen, and they happen with a lot of pomp and PR, but there is no follow-up. I have seen a lot of startup founders who have attended these discussions, have networked, and they were promised few things. Let's say XYZ things. I'm not trying to be rude here, but they came back saying that there is no follow-through, Deepa. After that, nothing happened. So why are we having these discussions? I mean, I think there should be more of enablement than PR and photo op. PR and photo op is fabulous. We should have it. But there should always be a strong follow-through by the government, stakeholders, ecosystems to actually make things happen for these startups. As a single family office, there is only so much budget we can allocate for the startups. But what about larger expanses of establishments who can do more for the startups, right? So instead of building swanky infrastructure, probably if you set aside 100 crore fund, won't you see the difference? I would say you would, because startups need money, right? So we don't want another Harsha Majeti of Swiggy running away to Bangalore to establish a unicorn. Swiggy should come and set up in Hyderabad, but it happened in Bangalore. There should not be another Swiggy repeating the same story, going to Bangalore or Gurgaon for funding. That shouldn't happen. We should stop this. I mean, it's not impossible. We are very happy to give feedback. We are also very happy to participate. But if there is no follow-through, there is no meaning. We should not be very surprised that Telangana was not kind of ranked in the top 10, and that debate actually spurred a lot of discussion. While we are all doing, I'm sure, with all due respect, all the ecosystems are working very hard. But at the end of the matter, end of the story, it is that there is a follow-through that should happen, and there should be a fund kept aside by the stakeholders. A very happy marriage that I can see here is between government entities and fund houses, because ever since Sequoia has launched that Spark fund, right, that happened in the wake of pandemic. But that also actually gave out a lot of thought process to other fund houses also to, pitch in, right? Then CXXO happened. And funding has started flowing in. I think the fund houses have to comply with the SEBI rules. They have their limitations. They will have their own theses and stuff. But I think if government and SEBI can also put in some flexible rules here where fund houses can collaborate with ecosystems and also, probably set aside a certain budget for women entrepreneurship, that will also work, I think. And also entities like WEP, Niti Aayog, they're always looking for partners, right? Ecosystem partners. Why? Because they want to drive this at every nook and corner. I mean, it could be as simple as bringing out a mentorship program, or at least connecting folks to the investors, right? We have done a demo day with Niti Aayog very recently, where a couple of startups got picked up for funding. We did not do a mass initiative, we just did it for 12 startups, but at least 3 of them have gone for funding discussion. I think that's a huge leap for us, because that discussion was also not happening in the past. So I think there is a lot of opportunity for government, policymakers, stakeholders to work with the fund houses, other angel networks, come up with more innovative plans, but please infuse capital into the startups. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepa. I will agree with her. We are representing the government to create a separate funds for women entrepreneurship by the banks, by all the financial institutions. And then we have come a long way last 5 years in creating funds for entrepreneurs, not just women entrepreneurs, for entrepreneurs, which is SEBI controlled, but there's a lot more happening now, a lot more awareness happening. I'm sure we will reach a tipping point soon. And how soon is again difficult to tell you. Thank you so much. I'll move on to Praveena's view. I'll repeat the question. Praveena, what should the government and industry bodies like us, like FTCCI and other forums, do to encourage women entrepreneurship and continue to support the startup ecosystem for women?
So, in my previous question answer itself has it. So, in a previous answer itself, you have rightly said, the committee. Yeah. Yeah. So, committee you were mentioning about, that's really apt for that. And when it comes to finances, yeah, I do agree. Investors and vendor meets are happening. Investors meets are happening. Connections are happening. But everything at the maybe medium level, SMEs, I can't say a micro level or the small level. So is there any mechanism where, we proudly say that, I've connected these many women entrepreneurs to the bank and they've on the spot, they started processing, they have received loans. I really doubt about it. I think so there should be a mechanism and the audit process. So maybe investors, I do agree, as Deepa rightly said, but when at the micro level, they just look for the 2 lakhs. just mere small amount, but even that won't reach them. And they don't even know how to approach, and the right people, of course, yes. So if they do it like the way we did Udyam registration or the GST registration, why not connecting to the bank? So they won't understand the CIBIL score, they won't understand anything. This mere for the small amount they'll be running around. At the end of the day, neither they receive money from the family nor from there, and there the matter ends. So they stop there. So however, so that is one area really we need to focus upon. We should proudly say, our organizations proudly say that this year we have done 100. For sure, they have received the money. So I would really looking forward for that. And another thing is SLGs, of course, now I was very happy when MSMEDA or Srinivas Garu, so, they are connecting with the NGOs, SLGs, to connect with the women, to understand the pain areas. I think so it has to be done in even more mass, like, rural area also they are touching upon, but I don't know how far it's going to be fruitful. Any kind of reviews are happening, how many people have really taken, if there is any problem occurs, champion portal always there, MSMEDA, but how many of them reaching out? So even that awareness is lacking. Let's dump all the, complaints in the champion portal. So the mechanism of that is not happening, even that has to be, taken care. Even I think so for that we have to put a drive. Even for the champion portal, you come and, place a complaint over there. Let's see how many of them are really responding. So that we have to raise our voice to that extent. We just can't be shy away and keep quiet anymore. So this is a time we need to wake up. So another thing I would like to really mention about is like, when it comes to women entrepreneurs, they're always like, though return on investment is more, but, somewhere, they really think like, whether they'll be continuing it. How long they'll continue their business? That is the biggest question every bank asks is. So for that, so why are they asking that? Why they think like, women will leave away in the middle of it? So there, to empower women, maybe there is a need for trainings, I can say, upskilling. So though trainings they're talking about like, so someone is interested can come down. But when someone Udyam registration is done, make sure that, these are the trainings available, some kind of communication send them. Some kind of SMS, send them that, because you are a great entrepreneur you are going to be, you need to be learning all these leadership skills, it's need of the hour, you need to. So either you mandate or somewhere, the connectivity, people will be lost. As Deepa rightly said, follow-up is something which always lacks in. Today we met, we spoke, and we had nice thoughts, and tomorrow we don't even remember anything, and we just leave it there. So even once the Udyam registration is done, from there, think that as a baby, grooming. You're growing that, nurturing that baby. So from there, handhold them. Don't think like, even if only registered in the VIP, they have registered with them registration, that itself a registration. Please, government should come forward, and Srinivas Garu, I'm very sure, and you're going to bring that change. And digitization, yeah, definitely, you are the, see, you are here and encouraging us, and you're trying to understand, so I really have that hope. And another thing, digitization, she rightly said, my women, it's been 6 years, my women Nvision Safir business platform, I never seen my women, only digitally they know me. Now I am meeting the people actually. So, we earn like, our home bakers, they just earn like so much, only one cake for 2,000 rupees. So they're earning good just in a digital world. The only thing I have done is like, if it is Manikonda area, that area people, that women only will take from her. They will not go to any bakers. So women, maybe it looks feminism, but women for women, so we'll be buying. So women itself is a community, irrespective of anything. So let's support each other. That's how we work. Though we have 10 number of bakers, we always recommend each other. So that's how it goes on. So when we have that bond, we develop. And one more thing, yesterday I was talking to our community, and I was telling like, no, we don't, maybe government helps us or not. We have many, we are an apartment culture, right? We have many communities. You list out what are the communities we come from. Let's go and ask them and free expos there. So we need not pay anything. We keep doing expos in communities level. So that's how we want to bring the change. Of course, the government front, probably I really request Srinivas Garu, some, media is something, television, one channel, dedicatedly for MSME. If I want to know that, where what is happening, what kind of trainings, what kind of things happening. I want to see what, MSME DI people are talking, KVIC, PMEGP is something like, it's like, when I talk to KVIC people, they say that we are waiting for the people to come to us and take mentorship. But how many of us are doing it? No, we are not even stepping into those because we are not aware. We don't even know the names. Why? Because only either you be in social media or YouTube channel, when you are active, you are not aware of it. If it is a channel, I'll go and switch on my channel and see, like how I see the TSAT. So maybe I'm talking at the grassroots level, but this is the reality of India. I don't want to be on hype or anything. So we really need a channel for it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Praveena, for that. Just adding to what she said, I'll tell you one example where Sedibus thing, right? So we had a session in the wake of pandemic when the MSME grants were released. I mean, a lot of it was on the paper. Okay, we all know there's a certain fund that was set aside. The basic exercise of finding somebody in Sedibus to make this happen never happened. These are small things that culminate into big issues. So what's the point when you make a policy and set aside a fund, but you don't have people in the ground to expedite it?
Praveena was very, very forceful. She put me under pressure. But anyway, a week ago we had a meeting with Mr. Krishna Bhaskar, who's a young, dynamic IAS officer, who's the Commissioner of Industries. And we were telling that if forget women entrepreneur, forget men entrepreneur. If an entrepreneur wants to start an industry, there is something called TS iPass. So you register and go through it. But at the end of the TS iPass, we wanted every entrepreneur should get a booklet, e-booklet, consisting of do's and don'ts, compliances. This is the bare minimum thing that is required, and he's taken it positively. We have also spoken this to Mr. Jayesh Ranjan. We have also spoken it to Mr. D. Chandrasekhar, who is the Development Commissioner of MSME. So this is going to be a reality. It is, future reality, not immediately, but this is being pushed from bodies like FTCCI on that. And the second part, evangelizing, that we need to do. We want government to act. We want government to change. Then all of us need to completely push them every single week, meet them and push. That's the only way we can make the government to act, right? They're well-meaning, like you said, Sedibus has earmarked some funds, but there is no measures and metrics like Praveena said. How do you measure? There is 100 crores of funds, but how much of it is going to women entrepreneurs? How much is going to tech fund? How much is going to this? We don't have a measure and metric in place. These are the things that we are trying to push from FTCCI and other bodies to the government. I'll quickly move on to Sandhya. Should I repeat the question, or I'll repeat it anyway? What should the government and industry bodies like FTCCI and other forums do to encourage women entrepreneurship and continue to sustain the startup ecosystem for women? I want a forceful answer from you as well.
Yeah, I think this is an easy question to remember. I don't think I will really add anything beyond what my fellow panelists and you have already, stated. I think all of those are really key areas. So probably if I had to pick 2-3 really crucial areas, one is Deepa, you touched upon it, is about really evangelizing. Srinivas, you also, emphasized that is really the building the larger funding environment so that there is no flight of startups, looking, who really come to a very crucial kind of, they are at a momentum, there is a significant critical mass, and then those startups moving to other states is really a big loss. I think to really, what would be useful is for the government and the other trade bodies to come together to really, to partner with some of the big funding houses nationally, internationally, and really put a spotlight on the destination that we are and the kind of work that is happening at multiple levels. I think to make sure that it is sustained here, and we really see, I think, that critical growth happening out of Hyderabad as well. I think there's been some really recent good examples, some good breakout moments in the last few weeks. But I think, to the government and the trade bodies would do well, I think, to really put a sustained focus and use their collective convening power to bring a lot of those in focus for the state as such. I think that would be one area. I think the second area really is about, I think you touched upon it, is about, I think, looking at ways to, I think, access to credit, in multiple forms. And I think in terms of, disbursement of that right through to, I think, metrics and measurement of performance. I think that entire system, I think, really needs a focus, and I think that would be an area where I think there's a great role that governments and other bodies could play. And I think finally it's also about access to markets, which I think the government as well and the trade bodies are well positioned to facilitate through their own agencies, through multiple corporates which form a part of those trade bodies, where I think startups can get a leg up by getting, much more easier access to, different kinds of markets across different levels. I think I can talk about these three. Thanks.
Thank you, Sandhya. You added to what Deepa has already talked about. Hyderabad is lagging behind Gurgaon and Bangalore. But having said that, a lot more is happening in Hyderabad. Hyderabad is happening now. So a lot of noise is being made. I'm sure we will catch up with them soon. Right? And Sandhya also talked about creating marketplaces. Yes, that is where the government should step in and create marketplaces, because that is where all the vendors and customers meet. So government should do its role and duty in creating marketplaces and giving access to finance, is what she touched upon, Sandhya. So this is rightfully the duty of a government. Thank you, Sandhya, for your views. And now, Akitha, I'll repeat the question. What should the government, industry, bodies like FTCCI and others do to encourage women entrepreneurship and continue to sustain the startup ecosystem for women? Your views on that.
Sir, I come from an academic background, and I myself have been a student, and I have got a lot of encouragement from my faculty, through which I have pursued the journey of entrepreneurship. But from my batch, I'm the only one who has taken this journey. Everybody want to become a doctor, engineer, but becoming a woman entrepreneur is not a common option, right? So I feel we have to bring certain curriculum even in the education system as well. It should be one of the course where students learn how you can convert your ideas, your thought process or your knowledge into something useful, how you can make an impact into the society. And through this, even the parents also will have a confidence that even this is also certain kind of it can also be a kind of a career option where you are growing and you are also helping others to grow. So this kind of value has to be seeded, deep-rooted into the society, the parents, everyone in fact, because I feel this is a gap which has not been bridged, and that's why even we women, or sometimes even certain men also face problems when they wanted to pursue entrepreneurship. Why don't you become a software engineer? Why have you just come out of your job? So there is always an anxiety. Are you going to just leave us into depths? So these kind of worry and anxiety would be completely cleared out if we introduce a kind of curriculum from +1 or +2, or even in the colleges. This is one kind of suggestions which I wanted to ask the government to take an initiative where we can plant a seed from the early stage itself. So there are certain platforms like VHub, which will go to grassroots levels and train women, and they are also providing platforms to present our devices into Dubai Expo and certain other global platforms as well. So there is support, but we need more of such. We need more incubators which would support women, especially women, and also provide them with skill sets such as financial planning, how to put your market into a digital platform, how they can become the face of their companies, because a founder knows much more about their baby than anybody else. So most people are very scared to come and talk and put their product in front of investors or in front of the customers. They hire somebody else for this job. So we can train women to become self-empowered, to present themselves to the investors or to the customers. There is also one more thought, sir. We can also introduce certain kind of fellowship programs for the women who have just passed out from the colleges, where they get trained into a smaller projects to become a small entrepreneurships. And once you find the traction, then you try to introduce a small seed fund, and then you find more traction, then you introduce them to further mentors into the market. So I feel starting small will make a big difference.
Thank you, Akitha. If Deepa said industry bodies are not doing enough, she started saying that. Akitha gave a huge list of things to do, not just to government, but to industry bodies. That's on a lighter side, but she touched upon that she's taken an uncommon path, and she was talking about incubation centers, she's talked about government support in creating that ecosystem. Of course, one example of which she is a party to it is VHub. VHub is a baby of Mr. KTR and has done a good job of it. And last time when they published their statistics, they talked about 87, I think 87 or 88 startups who have been successful, who have been funded by VHub and doing very well. So government is starting to do, it's not enough definitely as far as expectations goes. But then on ending summary note, we have wonderful, successful women over here on the dais and people on the audience, and all of us, let's bring in the change. I mean, obviously government has to do its duty, but what if the government doesn't do? Do we keep quiet? No. We have to be the enablers. All of us have accomplished something in life, and let's be the change that we want to see in the world. And typical Gandhiji's words, but they still stand true. On that note, I thank the four wonderful panelists here who've been very accomplished, very forthright, very honest, spoke from their heart. And I'm sure, when we started our session, there were just 4 or 5 audience, and now I'm heartening to see a lot more here. And let's have this, video circulated, because I'm sure it's going to benefit. I'm just looking at amongst the audience or amongst the members here, 10 Deepas, 10 Praveenas, 10 Sandhyas, 10 Akithas, and then we have done a job at it. On that note, thank you so much, the audience, and thank you to panelists. Thank you, FTCCI and Expo, for having conducted this, and God bless.